Hey everybody, it's Matt. Wrestling with Whiskey is back. Another episode of Straight Shooting. Extra big episode. Another first precedent-breaking episode. We have our first wrestling couple on the show. A two-person experience, which is very cool. Two people I've been able to work with very intimately recently. I have a lot of admiration for and respect, but haven't had a ton of time to spend with them before we started recently working all together at Impact Wrestling. So it's exciting for me to actually sit down in a more intimate atmosphere. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Steve Maclin and my homecoming queen, Deonna Purrazzo, the two together. Welcome, you guys, to Straight Shooting. How is it going?
How are you?
Good.
I am very, very good. I'm so happy to have you guys here.
We're happy to be the first wrestling couple.
I know.
Yes,
Exciting.
that's just true. And I appreciate that the name is just Deonna's name on the label right now.
That's perfect. You don't have to
Yes, I mean it's
forget me.
yes. I should just put no. It's the old happy wife, happy life kind of mentality. 100%.
King and
You.
Yeah, and Steve.
the old Steve Maclin.
Yes, absolutely. But no, and it's also very cool today because it's so many guests on this show have either their first or this is a very random experience with whiskey for them. They're totally not into it, but I know we've talked about it before. You guys actually do enjoy a pour of whiskey every now and then. Is that right?
Yeah. You're the Jack Daniels flavor. Me, I'm any kind of flavor that's in front of me. Mostly Jameson. I'll go for the cheap whiskey, but
yeah, my drink of choice is Jack. Always. It's like I've drank it since I could drink legally, and it's like the one drink that doesn't give me the hangover. Really, I could drink endless amounts and still feel okay the next day. So
wow, good for you. More than I could say.
I get more the comfort out of whiskey. I don't know. It relaxes me more.
Absolutely.
Have a glass on the rocks or just have a glass straight up. It's perfect.
So then what is the go-to? I mean, is it a whiskey and Coke? Is it straight up? Is it on the rocks? Is it in a cocktail? How do you guys usually kind of take it?
Yeah, whiskey and Coke. That's
okay.
See, whatever they have, that's my go-to always.
I'm whiskey straight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoy the flavor, and then just lets me sip it too. So if we are having a conversation and casual, out, especially
sip it also means the whole bottle. There's no I'm gonna have a glass. I'm gonna drink the whole bottle.
Yeah. It's like wine. Once you open it, you may as well just
It's 0 to 100 real quick.
Oh gosh, we had people here for his birthday back in May, Memorial Day, and it was kind of like a housewarming Memorial Day Steve's birthday party. And before Steve went to bed, he was like Captain Jack Sparrow with a bottle of Jameson, just barreling around the house. And I was like, okay, we're gonna put this down, and it's 8 p.m. It's time for you.
Hey, get done. You get started early, you get done early, and then you can get up and go to the gym the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then wrestle too.
Yeah. Gosh.
Yeah. Right. Take some bumps the next day. How about that? No kidding. That's the freaking road life right there. But no. How are you guys doing? How have things been for you guys lately?
Great. Honestly, on my end, it's been great. I know it's been even more.
I mean, it's been great for us. We're the king and queen.
Damn right. Damn right.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's an exciting time for you because you're getting TV time. You're on your own, so you're getting to come into this new character, and it's like a whole new world for you right now.
No, it's a lot of fun just to be able to spread my wings in a sense because you know where we've been, and you have that kind of hold on you where you're told don't do this, don't do that, and it's just the way the business goes. And I don't know, it's just a different experience now, and it's more fun and. It's fun to even just share it with her as well and to see what you guys are doing and for you coming to Impact and for her to be at Impact flourishing. It's just awesome to see in general.
Yeah. Right. It's lovely when you get a chance to kind of to fly a little bit. And it's I always argue or not argue with people, but I always talk with people and it's not about because I mean, wrestler, a lot of people think like wrestlers should be able to do like whatever the hell they want anytime they want. I'm like, it's not like we're not asking to just like, I want to throw everything in every match and every stipulate all this stuff. I think that's what people think sometimes. And I'm like, no, it's just I want to be heard. You know what I mean? It's as simple as just being heard, being in on the process, be a part of it, and get a chance to kind of put your stamp on something instead of literally being, told exactly what to do.
Yeah, I feel like, and I mean, all three of us have talked in our own little about this, but like even something as simple as, when we did our coronation a couple weeks ago and you being like, oh, they used to throw roses. And I was like,
yeah,
I'm going to go ask. And they were like,
you got it done.
Like just something little like that helps get yourself over that they didn't think about. And then they don't get angry or take it personally when you're like, I think this would help me better. Yeah. Or this will push that narrative a little bit more in terms of storytelling and character. Like everyone is just really open to like interact with each other and vibe off of each other and like get on the same page, and it puts out such a better product, I think.
Yes. 110%. There's nothing quite like it. And so that'll kind of bring me to my first foray into this. We'll go do a little bit of background. Speaking of, doing exactly what you're told, Steve, we know obviously you've made no secret of your background and, long-term in the military and stuff like that. So for me, my question, like you, and I've never really asked you this before, is just like going from that environment, where was the kind of the turn or decision-making once you were out to be like, let's give this wrestling stuff a try? Like, where did that kind of impetus come from?
Actually, it was pretty simple. Like, because on leave, I was home during right after my second tour, or actually my first tour, I should say. I'm sorry. Darren Young, Fred, he was at one of the local bars in my hometown, and one of my best friends growing up, Jarrett, was an indie worker, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to meet a guy from WWE?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like, why wouldn't I want to just go hang out and talk? I love wrestling. I've always grown up loving wrestling. It was brought into me by my grandparents, and I just loved it growing up. And we got to sit and talk, and he just like, keep this in the back of your mind that this is like an avenue you can take once you get out. And for years, Jarrett, like while we were in high school, was always telling me, he's like, "Hey, come try getting in the ring, try to take some bumps, see if you like it." I'm like, there's no possible way, like a 5'11", just shy of 6 foot white guy that like isn't looking like Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold or The Rock. Like, you just look at these larger than life characters on TV. There's no way possible you can make it happen. And Fred was the first person to kind of put that idea in my head of like, give this a shot. You have a story, and like, if you give this a go, he's like, it'll probably pay off. And him putting that little idea in the back of my head, once I got out of the Marine Corps while I was going to school on the GI Bill, like I got in a ring and fell in love. And everybody I know you fell in love with wrestling once you were in the ring too. Yeah. But it's just like, you're a fan, but then once you actually kind of get in the ring and you take those bumps and you do the thing, you're actually doing it. It's an entity that you fall in love with as well. And it's weird to say it in that way, but you really do. And that's why anytime I'm in a ring, I try to cherish every match I have, or just to enjoy the ability to do what we do.
100%. And I'll shout out too to Fred. What a always a class act. Like somebody, I've gotten to work with him in just backstage of a New Japan recently, and everything. He's continuing to grind out, kick ass, and just always has such a great attitude and everything. And I think I'll touch on that too real quick. That's so true. I feel like wrestling has this like inherent way of weeding people out, so to speak. I'm like, and it's like you do it, and you're like, so many people love it, right? Obviously, a lot of huge fan base and stuff. But like, you get in there, and whether it's the first couple things of training, or your friend walks you through some stuff, or whatever it is, it's like there is this instant either I love this, or like the ropes hurt, this hurts, and it's always going to hurt everybody, kind of. But it's either with that, like, oh yeah, I want to get better at this. I want to learn more of this. I want to get more ingratiated into this, or it's okay, nope, not for me, goodbye, sort of thing. So it has this way of kind of like weeding people out pretty quick, and like that, that canvas has a very special place, I think, anytime you're in it.
Yeah, you have a similar story to that, but the opposite of where you took a bump and you said, "Oh, I don't want to do that."
So what's actually
funny? Yeah, that was gonna be. I was gonna go right to you. So please, I want to hear this.
So what's funny is like his story about Fred and getting to know Fred, and that's how you got into wrestling. Like we grew up 45 minutes away from each other. So his friend Jarrett was some of the first people I met in wrestling too. So it's really like it's such a small world, the two of us, because everyone he talked about that introduced him to wrestling, that he like hung out with when he got to know wrestling and wanted to be involved, are people that like helped me be involved and like taught me how to wrestle. So it's like weird to hear his story because it's so similar to mine. But Sean Bennett, who's a referee on Raw, for WWE, was one of my first trainers, and he showed me like, okay, today you're gonna learn how to take a bump, and it was like my first day, and he showed me what it was, and I was like, is there something else I could learn? I don't want to do that, anything else. And he was like, well, this is kind of the basis of everything you do. You have to learn how to do this. So, I mean, we took baby steps, and like I sat on the person's back and they pushed me backwards and like worked my way up to just falling backwards. But yeah, I was like, I don't want to do that. But once I did it, it was like do or die. I wanted to be a wrestler my entire life. If that's what it was going to take for me to like be a wrestler, then I was all in from day one.
Oh yeah, by hook or by crook, 100%. So when was that?
That was my very first day of professional wrestling training was December 27th, 2012.
Wow. Okay, you got it down to the God. I wonder if I could even remember the day. You got it down to the day.
Wait, I would say I was May of 2012.
Okay.
So right after I just got done in the Marine Corps, I just started school. I found the Monster Factory in South Jersey, and then I got in the ring there for a tryout. And what a weird experience that was too.
Oh God, I bet.
Just no kidding.
Nothing you just not what I expected. Like, I don't know. I expected everybody to be jacked, good looking, like in shape, and then like nothing, like not hindering any or body shaming anybody, but like it just ended up being like the circus that you expected. Now I expect wrestling to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
it's all these characters from all over, and that it made me appreciate it more. I'm like, wow, just every walk of life comes in here and just enjoys what we do on a daily basis.
And just to show you, like, and that's what you grew up with. Is what a lot of us grew up with, but you learn just how much, while they are at the top, just how much of a world there is outside of WWE. Like, oh, there's a whole ecosystem out here outside of that. That is one particular corner. It's a big corner, but like. That's one style, one place, and there's a whole nother world out there that with all walks of life, 100%.
And that's the best part, I think, too, in wrestling is you get to meet all walks of life, every different culture, any different background. It's just like you see everybody with different beliefs and how they look. And
you get to travel the world and like embrace those cultures and differences.
And that's like one of the coolest things I think now is like you learn how people like just like live, and it's one of those cool things you never thought of. And life lessons, and that's what I take every day because I got lied to by my recruiter in the Marine Corps saying I'd see the world. Granted, I only saw Afghanistan, but like it's like Gerald Briscoe was like, listen, when you go to WWE, you'll travel, you get taken care of, like everything is this, and they don't lie, like you don't get lied to in that, and whatever you give to the business gives back to you, and that's the one lie one thing I've been told in wrestling that hasn't been a lie compared to my time in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, that is true. I remember I read something. I don't know if this is still actually true that like that pro wrestling as an art form, is what it is I think the most watched like form of entertainment on the planet. Like I think most attended, pre-COVID and everything, of course, just because like it's in almost every country has some version of wrestling. Their own culture version of it. So like between all the indies and stuff in like America and Europe and like Japan, even like Africa, Australia, all this stuff, the number of people who attend and watch wrestling is like more than any other sport because like sports are so specifically regional that wrestling is just global. Yeah. And so like as an art form, it's like one of the most watched things on the planet. It's kind of a cool thing. It's one of those unifying things.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that's super cool. Cause like, the three of us have gotten to, go to places like people don't get to go, expenses paid, spend 5 days in Paris, go live in Japan, like, you know what I mean? Play with the kangaroos in Australia, like, and their life experiences that we're getting paid to do. And then you get to like interact with new cultures and learn new things. And that's like my favorite part of wrestling. So that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, 100%. So on that note then, all right, Deonna, where is the best place that wrestling has brought you?
Oh, Tokyo, for sure.
Yes, right? Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. And I always tell him, like, either we just have to plan a vacation and go, or the minute wrestling allows you to go, like, just go. Whether it's for 3 days or 3 months, like, I want you to be able to experience that, because I got to go when I had just turned 22, and I had never been to college. I never left home. So that was kind of like my first worldly experience. And like, Tony Storm was there with me, Zoe Lucas, Viper, Piper Niven, Dewdrop, whatever you want to call her. Like, some of these people became my best friends through that experience. And I got to explore all of Tokyo and party and Roppongi and do things that will be with me for the rest of my life. So my favorite place, but like hands down, I want you to be able to experience that.
One day. I think it's coming.
Yeah. How long did you spend there?
The first time I spent 3 months.
Okay.
And then the second time I only spent like maybe 3.5 weeks. But I was in a weird like transitional space before I went to NXT. And because I had already been there and like done, Disney Sea and Tokyo Disney and all, I was like, island fever, I need to go home. So like, I'll never go for 3 months again. But that first time was so worth it.
Yeah. Did you ever experience did you ever get a sponsor dinner?
Yes.
Freaking wild, right?
They take you drink. One specific sponsor would like take us to the grocery store, and fruits and vegetables are so expensive in Japan because I guess like they have to be imported and all those things. Mm-hmm. So we would never buy our own like strawberries or apples or cantaloupe. So when the sponsor would take us to the grocery store, we would get all the expensive stuff we didn't want to buy ourselves.
It's a good worker.
Damn right. Always finding an angle. And so, all right, Steve, what about you? Where have you been able to go with wrestling so far that you love the most?
Obviously, stateside's been always a thing with NXT and WWE, but we got to do Download Festival, Blake and I, as a tag team, and that was a lot of fun in the UK. And it was just cool because I love metal, I love rock concerts, I just love the concert atmosphere, and to be able to wrestle in a festival was pretty just awesome. Just to have a tent set. And like you had your wrestling fans that showed up from the UK because they're their own fan base in their own crazy world.
Yeah.
Which they're some of the coolest fans. But like just to have walk-ups and people coming as we're wrestling, Shinedown's playing, or going to see, literally just taking my boots off and then going watching Guns N' Roses, and then Marilyn Manson was really cool. Parkway Drive was really cool to see. Like, these are bands I like. But like just like literally ripping my boots off like after I get done with a match just to go see a set was kind of cool to like do. But we actually, a part of that trip was Paris, and I didn't care for Paris at all, the city. I just cared more for the venue. Nothing against Paris. I was just like, we got to the
C'est dommage.
We got to the
Chocolat bleu.
That's it.
Oh,
I'm like, okay, cool. Like, and it was me, Eddie, and Blake. Eddie Orengo, referee on Raw, and then Blake's, brother Blake. But we're all just kind of sitting there laughing, and it's raining. But the venue we're in was this old circus. Like, it was just literally no air conditioning, no toilets. It was the hole in the floor. You had to squat and hover over. But like, it was the coolest venue because you're literally in the middle of a circus ring, surrounded by the seats, like old school setting. And we wrestled Tucker Knight and Otis that night. And Otis is very over in that aspect of just for his look and his stature. So, like, it was a very easy match. And for them to chant Otis, but they weren't even just saying Otis. It was in a slang in the French world of Otis, Otis. So, like, you just heard this rumble, and it's so hot in there. And it was just an awesome atmosphere for that venue. And that's probably one of my favorite matches. And even Tucker always asked me, he's like, why is that your favorite? I was like, I don't know. It was just all
the experience of it.
It was the fact that we're in Paris. We went and toured the entire city during the day. Didn't care about the match, even though we had a fun match. Like, everything we put into it was just so much fun, of just the trip in general.
I find those sometimes when people a lot of people when they recount their favorite matches, more often that they're not TV or pay-per-view matches. Sometimes it's those live events in this random where it was this certain crowd and the stuff like that. And don't get me wrong, there's certain big TV events can be like that, but those cool. Those are some of my favorite events. Those live events. Again, whether it was stateside or international, just like the atmosphere in there is so much more interactive and just like fun. I totally get that. The question I have too, when you went to download, when you took off the wrestling boots, did you have to put on rain boots and march through the mud? Because I only went once, and I had to go there. I had to buy like 2 foot tall, what do they call them? Wellies.
Yeah.
Wellies.
On that note, the best part about it was a lot of the people put name tapes in the boots from the year previously, so everybody saved their boots.
Yes.
Okay.
So it was the Good Brothers and Sisters hooked up like everybody else coming in, so there's like hand-me-downs.
Yeah, but I don't want how we all know how WWE is, and it just gets put in a container and closed for the year.
For a year.
Nostalgia.
You know what I mean? It's not. It's like gross bowling shoes
Don't
that
care.
get like maybe sprayed if we're lucky, but it's WWE, so they don't. Because there must have been a year before you, and then you went, and then I went the year later, and I swear they were the same boots with the same tags that I was like, I'm going to bring my own because I don't want to wear someone's dirty old wellies from 3 years ago.
Just don't, as long as you're not barefoot, you're all right, right?
Wear some high socks.
Wear 2 socks. Yeah, just 2 pairs of socks.
I went to download the 2019, and Tony Storm and I got matching tattoos. So yeah.
A little drunk duck.
Wait, were you there when I was there?
In 2019?
Were you there for NXT UK?
You did the tape.
Yeah.
Because I know they had some other like stateside NXT talent there too.
Yeah, so we taped maybe like 3 episodes of NXT UK. So yeah, maybe you were doing commentary.
Because I remember I was doing commentary with Vic at Download.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah. I wrestled Tony, and then I wrestled Shayna and some other kind of match. But yeah. Yeah,
it was. I just remember that specifically, having to wear those. I remember seeing the pile of boots backstage too. It was pretty wild. That was something. What's that?
What a time! Like just an experience.
Yeah.
Just to go to catering and you're sitting there with bands. Like I was eating breakfast one day with Andrew WK, and it was I was just sitting there. I sit down and I'm like kind of hungover from the night before, and I look over and it's Andrew WK. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, no kidding.
I am a mark for Andrew WK, but
I don't know who that is.
He does a song.
Party Hard?
Come on.
Really?
The t-shirt. Oh, I'll show you after we get done.
Well, to be fair, I know Andrew WK, but I didn't know he was still making music.
Yeah, he was there. He performed. It was good to see him, and he put on a good concert. I think it was Third Stage that day.
And now you guys are pen pals, right?
I hope, yeah.
He hasn't answered yet, but you know.
All right. Well, you know what? On that note, here's to travel. Let's bust open the first sample today. Sample A. And I'll pour a little bit too.
Would you like me to pour it?
Into your.
Okay. Just a little taste.
Yes, just a little. That's all we need. Just a little bit to put on the tongue to kind of swish it around, get a little taste. We're determining which we like the best. So.
It smells good.
Good. I think you guys are the first person to say that who didn't go, oh God, what is this? So yeah, typical whiskey taste. What we do normally, I always walk everyone through this. You look at it and you look at the color. And you come up with the douchiest word for brown or copper because it all looks the same. And it doesn't really matter. But no, then you can nose it, which I always recommend keeping your mouth open and put your nose on the rim of the glass.
I like it.
And just kind of start giving me what you get, whether it's sweet, spicy, is there a lot of alcohol? Is it light? Caramels, vanillas, things like that. What do you guys smell?
There's definitely a lot of alcohol.
Yeah. It's got, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
More that rubbing alcohol style smell. I don't know.
Okay. Rubbing alcohol.
It does smell kind of that spice.
Spicy.
Okay.
The more I smell it, the more I take back my first comment that it smells good, though.
It does smell good, though. I'll give it that. It smells like it's going to be smooth. that makes any sense.
And I have iced
Sure.
tea here to chase with because I'm not a good shot taker.
That's fine. Well, again, we're not taking
We're
shots.
tasting.
Yes. We're just going to lightly sip. So, yeah.
Now
Give
we're
it.
gonna straight shooting.
Yeah. I know, despite the name. I apologize. So, with that, cheers, guys. Take a little sip, just a little one, just a light sip. Let it sit on your tongue. You know what I mean?
Oh, I was right. It was smooth.
I don't think so.
All right. So, she thinks it's a little rough, a little harsh.
I'm gonna go rubbing alcohol tasty, like you said.
Okay.
Super strong, light. You think it's smooth, Steve?
I think that's a smooth whiskey.
Okay.
To me, that's smooth. A little bit of a burn right now. After
Well, of course, and remember too. I always tell people, presumably, unless Steve got started early, this is your first sip of the day, which usually it hits the hardest. You kind of got to get used to it. So, I always recommend that first one is literally just to kind of coat the mouth, coat the tongue, get your body used to like, holy crap, what is this thing I'm drinking? So I do recommend taking one more small sip just to kind of see if you can pick up on some flavor this time. Switch it around, mix in some saliva.
Is there like a caramel flavor in there?
Very common note for whiskeys, especially in bourbons and occasionally rye and stuff like that. But yeah, 100%. That's very common.
I don't taste anything specific.
Really?
Yeah.
Just a smooth.
just rubbing alcohol.
It just tastes like alcohol.
I don't know. It's just very, like I said, smooth, like that caramel taste, and it's like that, like a very warm taste too.
Is it sweet at all to you? Bitter or even bitter?
No,
bitter
no
is
bitter.
common
It's
too?
kind of
Okay.
just a normal whiskey to me. I don't know. Is that wrong?
No.
I feel like I don't have a lot to offer here because I only drink one whiskey. I feel like I have yet to like broaden my horizons.
Well, this will be good then, maybe, because we're going to have this, and like what'll be more interesting, especially at first, it might just be like, I don't know what to look for. It kind of it's alcohol, right? But as we try 2 and 3 here, hopefully you'll be like, it may still be very much like alcohol, but it'll be like, oh wait, there's a difference here. This is subtly different here. And
because even by color, it's a little bit lighter.
It's lighter.
It's a lighter. Like looking at the other samples, like B obviously is the darker one, and then C is kind of like the medium, and this was the lighter of the 3.
Yes.
So this 100%. Is probably, if I think about it more, the sweeter probably what it's going to be, but smooth, nice and warming, and then like I said, like tasting that caramel type taste. Maybe that's
okay. All right. Well, the important thing is try to keep a little bit of that sense memory in your mind as we go down the line, as we go down further. So they can remember some of those notes and stuff like that. But as we move on, the next thing I want to know is because, I have obviously a lot of personal experience in this department when it comes to finding your mate and or spouses. So in the wrestling business, so I've been down that road. So I mean, give me the and whoever wants to give me the story, give me the boilerplate kind of version of how did you guys actually come to meet and stuff.
Okay, so we met like during both of our time in NXT. And then Steve is just a little DM slider, and friendly at first.
Sure,
like, we were friends. But
talking.
Yeah, we I think when I started to like you was that we could just talk about anything. And because we're both from Jersey, we have like a very similar upbringing. We know a lot of the same places, a lot of the same people. It was kind of like a very easy conversation, and it wasn't necessarily like he slid into my DMs and was creepy. It was just kind of like he just comment about like the book I was reading and be like, blah, blah,
so she was reading a book like that was pretty much towards what we were going with as the Forgotten Sons. It was based off of anarchism and the Sons of Anarchy style character. And that's what we were basing the Forgotten Sons off of. And she posted one day on her story. I was like, "Ooh, this is literally me 100%." And it was like something about an outlaw.
I offered him the book, and that's kind of how it started.
Yeah. And then I read the book and then lost the book.
He lost the book. So.
What?
I left it in a hotel.
That book is the linchpin of the beginning of the oh my god, that is like a souvenir. That should be like in a glass case on the shelf somewhere.
A future gift down the road.
Down the road. I want it for Christmas. So I feel like we just were friends for the longest time, and then it just kind of happened and it made sense, and we just like fit perfectly.
Yeah.
You lived one floor above me, and then
we lived in the same apartment complex at one point.
We had dogs. We had Fitz and Honey, so they got along. And
the developmental same apartment complex tango. That is
met up and hey, what do you do?
It's almost too easy. Yeah, it's like, oh, we have to at least try, right?
Right. Yeah, and Steve is very stubborn. So when he wants something, or someone, in my case, he would not take no for an answer. And it was just like...
in a nice way.
Yeah.
Does that mean, did you tell him no at first?
Yes. Like, I think probably up until literally 2 years ago, I was like, when we were like, okay, fine, we'll actually legit commit to each other and date. I said no until I was just like, okay, I'm 100% in. Like, there was no...
like gradual.
Yes, it was like we're either there or we're not. And for the longest time I was not. And then finally I was like, I'm 100%, you're 100%, that's it.
And I think that's the one thing too, like out of both of us, like we just talk like adults. Like, are you in or are you out?
Yeah. We don't argue. We argue like anyone does, but I feel like from day one we just had a mutual respect of like we can understand each other without having to yell and like be aggressive. We have always just been like kind of on the same wavelength about most things.
Yeah. And like when I met her too, I wanted to know everything about her. I don't know. I'm sure you felt the same way. Like as soon as we started talking, I was just like, I want to know more. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know what makes your mind work. And in a psychotic, weird way, like that's just where my head, like I just was like, I want to know everything about this woman.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. When those early conversations, like when Deonna, you said it was, I'm like, and I always say this, I'm like, relationships, of course, are work. Like there's no sugarcoating that, like, especially long-term relationships. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. But that said, I'm like, especially early on, it's when it's easy and it clicks like that, it's just it feels right when it's that easy. You know what I mean? And then it makes the work later on like worth it because you know how well you click and everything. And I am I guess is it it's a DM, right? Facebook message is a DM.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was me. Same apartment complex, and she had just moved to be part of NXT, and it was the old, do you need any help moving anything? I'm just around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's 2021. We're almost in 2022. Like, how else do you meet people? Like, you know what I mean? Everyone kind of has to slide into a DM.
But like we also talked at work, but it was not very like, it was just like a hi or a bye like type thing. But like I don't know.
Well, yeah, you also, once you see like, oh, I follow this person on social media, and you could see what my interests were. I was watching Sons of Anarchy, so I was reading like motorcycle club infiltration books, and like that was what my world was about at that point. So you were interested in that, and that's, like how else would you know how to start a conversation if you didn't see that?
Other than asking you out and taking you out and finding out your interests, like the old
days. Yeah. I know it is. I'm Steve. I'm with you. Like there's this funny thing about that, and I'm like, I remember that used to. It's weird how it's like I've almost regressed in a way. I'm like in high school, I wanted to do that, but like that was not what you did in high school.
No,
you didn't just go up to someone. You're like, hey, I'd like to meet you for coffee sometime. Like, could I pick you up like on a Friday? Like, and then if it goes well, we'll see each other again. If not, so, no, you had to like be in the same friend groups and then ask, Mary if she knew Kevin and if they could pass a note to, Susan or whatever. And and see if maybe sometime we could do a get together and a group hang. And then maybe we could go over and sit over by the bench together. And then, I just remember how complicated it was. And I wanted to be able to, but of course I didn't have the guts to straight up ask anyone out. So.
No, gosh.
Not in high school.
No, same. I was always one like that, just kind of went through people. That was always the avenue, the easiest way to go. Now it was your way of going through people was DMs.
True.
That's the middleman.
I don't look down on it.
No.
So when you guys first started dating, and I don't know, like, because I think maybe by the time you guys were getting together, I don't know if the culture had kind of changed maybe at NXT and stuff like that. I remember when me and my wife first, it was still kind of like this talent shouldn't be mingling outside. We don't really, nobody could say no, of course, but it wasn't super encouraged, and like, everyone had to keep anything on the down low if you did.
Right.
Like, was that kind of there, or was it a little bit more open?
I feel like it was pretty open, because I feel like there was so many people that were now married that were working together, or had children with each other at that point. So I feel like it was super more open. I just feel like we were tried to separate work life and then our personal lives. Like, we weren't super open about it for a long time, and it was
sure.
still, I don't know. Like, I just feel like we've really tried to separate the two. Like, when we're at work, of course, we want to say hi to each other and flirt and do whatever. But like, also there's a line where it's like, we're not going to be making out in the bleachers in Tampa, like, we really tried to keep professional. But yeah, the culture, I think, had changed, where there was a lot of people that were together or had dated someone else that was at NXT, and it made it a little bit easier for us.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And now had you guys ever talked about if or how or whether you would ever work together, like on screen in the business, or is that kind of like a no? I'm always curious with couples with this. Everyone's different.
I think in NXT there was like no way, just because he was in a tag or like trios, and he was like on TV and such a different character than I am, or was trying to be in NXT. So I don't even think that was a conversation until just now, when we're both in Impact, and now we're kind of like, well, maybe it would be fun. And before, you were my tag partner, it was kind of like, oh, I wonder if you could be my tag partner, and how would that make sense? But actually at Homecoming, Robert was like, yeah, we thought about it, but we just don't think you two have anything to do with each other.
Doesn't fit the spectrum of where we're both going.
Yeah.
But I think we're definitely open to it more now, just to have fun.
Yeah. And that's the part about wrestling, is having fun. Sorry, I was also letting the dogs in.
Dude.
So
no, don't. No.
But for us, like, yeah, I don't know. We're willing to work together. It's just one of those things. Like, now I'm curious how it's going to be when we have to put a match together.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the fun part. And I'm just going to be like, yeah, you take it. And we'll see where it goes.
Which is so funny, because when we tag, I always say, like, for our tags, like, I don't know anything about tag team wrestling. So if that doesn't make sense, just tell me flat out. I don't know what I'm doing. And I always like to preface with that. So it's funny, because I just kind of let Matt take the reins, and I'm like, you plan it, you let me know what you want me to do, and I'll be there.
Plug and play.
With tag wrestling, she's always coming to me like, oh, does this make sense? Because I was in a tag for so long, and I'm just like, yeah, it was like you watch, and you just, anytime we're watching wrestling, I always sit there and nitpick, do my little Terry Taylor things. And it's just one of those things where you just nitpick wrestling and you just can't watch it to enjoy it sometimes. But I do enjoy it, but it's just one of those things where cut the ring off. Like, dude, it's the little, it's those little minute things you don't think of, or that fans think of.
Well, I need that from you guys, because I tagged with Chelsea briefly in NXT, and she will be the first person to tell you, like, Deonna is not a tag team wrestler. She'll like have lost the match for us, and like, I just leave her, and she's like, well, like, my brain doesn't work like that. So it's been like fun to tag with you, because you like will correct me or be like, what about this, or this makes more sense, and I'm learning while we're working.
Yeah. It is funny how much, and that just shows how much like variety there is, and how much different stuff there is in wrestling. Because I mean, you're obviously last year you had this incredible like Iron Man match. Really quick? Iron Man, Iron Woman, Iron Person. Do we care?
It's just an Iron match now.
It was a Knockouts Iron Man match.
Okay.
They thought by saying Knockouts Iron Woman, it was kind of like repetitive to keep pressing the woman thing. So a Knockouts Iron Man match.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like that, man, knock that out of the park, got that handle. But then like tag team wrestling, it's just like it's a different world sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's there's people deathmatch wrestling, and there's all kinds of cruiserweight wrestling, lucha, wrestling stuff. It's there's so much variety.
Yeah, I think that goes back to like what we were talking about earlier with like it's the most watched thing because there's NFL is the NFL, football is football. There's rules and they could change season to season, but it pretty much stays the same. You just can pick a team to like. With like wrestling, there's deathmatch wrestling, there's tag team wrestling, there's trios tag team wrestling, there's ladder matches, cage matches, Iron Man matches, that it's a different flavor for everybody, no matter what the person is.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that the entire world would watch it because you can cater to anyone no matter what they like.
Very, very true.
And what now you have so much talent everywhere, and there's like everybody has their guy now wherever they kind of go. Like, oh, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this girl. It's just one of those things where like Flavors. They pick who they like, and then it's like, oh, I like this style. And it's literally just the direct TV of professional wrestling, where it used to be the 3-4 channels. And now you have this plethora of all these channels where you can watch whatever you want to watch or whoever you want to watch.
Yeah, no, that's a really good analogy. It is. It's like you had one or two. And now, it's like a Netflix where it's just like, I can watch this or this or this or this or this or this or this. It is, I mean, good problem to have for the industry, but like variety. And speaking of variety, let's move on to sample B, something different.
B as in
than sample A, something very different. So we'll give this a go.
Sample B.
Sample
the color. We're going off the color.
Very dark. This is actually one of the darkest I have. And when I get to go through the reveal, we'll talk about why that is.
Ooh. Okay.
So go ahead. Same kind of deal here. Just give it a. Smells different. It smells like alcohol to Deonna. I know that.
Smells sweeter to me.
Sweeter. Okay.
I probably could have used a different glass.
Yes, I was just thinking that.
It's all right. It should usually whatever's poured in on top, unless there's a ton left, it'll dominate. So you'll be all right.
I definitely think it's sweeter, less rubbing alcohol smell, and more like enjoyable alcohol smell.
Okay, stronger. Does it seem like a stronger, or punchier of alcohol, or less?
No, I think I smell less.
Okay,
I would say a little stronger. I think it's gonna have a little bit more bite, just because usually a darker brown liquor is gonna have more bite.
Okay,
you think? I don't know anything about alcohol.
Well, let's go ahead. Same thing. Let's take a little sip.
Speak volumes. Ooh. A little smokier.
Okay.
I get more of that smoky flavor.
I thought that was way smoother.
Really?
Like I feel like that is like an inexpensive whiskey. That's what it tasted like to me.
Oh, okay.
Christmas whiskey?
Like a Christmas dinner whiskey.
Okay.
Yeah.
Christmas dinner whiskey. I like that. I might steal that. Because I very much like. It's funny as a whiskey fan. Is it like I very much get that mentality? It's like, oh, yep, this is the one you bust out for the holidays, and you pour out after everybody's finished dinner or something. Pour out with dad and grandpa.
That's the one you pull out.
It's cold out. You want to just get a little bit warmer by the fire.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Yeah,
this is good.
Like, all right, we'll take one more sip. Let it kind of think about some of the things. Again, think about the sweetness, the spiciness, the strength, all that stuff, and we'll get into the last one shortly and do a final comparison.
It doesn't have bite either, though. That's what's good too.
No,
not as much bite.
No. It's like I don't know. I think you and I had the conversation at the last Impact. I told you I had a company Brimstone. It was like a smoked whiskey. So that was the first time I ever had a smoked whiskey. So like this is like kind of that smoky flavor, but not a lot of bite to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Yeah. Different styles. But so moving on, before we get to our last one, you mentioned it earlier. I would be remiss going through this conversation without talking about doggies. You guys are big dog people. If I'm reading it from your social media correctly, you guys love the animals, which I love. How many pets do we have?
Two.
We got Fitzgerald and Honey.
And give me the load. Give me ages. Give me breeds. What do we got? What are we working with?
So Fitz is a Chiweenie. He's a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, and he is just about 2.5. And then Honey is also 2.5. And she is like a hound lab retriever, some kind of mix. We just don't know.
Okay. Have you had them both since puppies?
Yeah. So in the apartments that we lived above each other, he got Honey
the day before she got
the day before I got Fitz.
And I got Honey the day I was going to a show in Daytona. And they said, this is the only day you can come pick her up. And I said, well, I'm coming right now. I went and picked her up at an animal shelter in Lake Mary here in Orlando, or Florida area, or just outside of Orlando. And I called her instantly just saying like, hey,
I got a dog.
I need a little bit of help. Can you watch her while I'm at the show? And then I'll come home. And she's like, sure. So,
I mean, first of all, how could you say no? Like, I got this brand new puppy, but I have to go to work. Can you take her? Like,
I was going to bring her with me, but she was just fixed. So that was the only thing that had me not want to bring her.
Yeah.
She still had the cone on her head. And I was like, well, I didn't know this happened. They didn't tell me that she was just fixed.
Oh, but she was the sweetest thing. Like, to end, she's still like, she's such a solid sleeper that, especially because it's not my dog now that I'm taking care of. And like, she only knows me. She doesn't even know her dad who just adopted her. I was so scared, like, because I couldn't see her like breathing, like her chest wasn't moving when she would breathe. That I was like, oh my God, she's dead. Like, oh my God, is she alive?
I killed the puppy.
She was about what, 8.5 weeks?
She was 8 weeks. Yeah.
8.5 weeks. Yeah. She was just such a pup. But like I saw her on Pet Finder and I was like, I have to go get this dog. And I was like, that's my dog. Her name was Grape originally. And
Grape?
Weird name. And then she's actually named after a whiskey, honey whiskey, Jack Honey.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Golden color. So that's why she's Honey.
My dog's named after a whiskey too, actually.
Really?
Her name is Willet. Do I have a Willet? There's a bottle. No, I don't think I have any. Yeah, there's a bourbon brand out of Kentucky called Willet, Willett. And when we adopted her, we were like, all right, well, what are we going to name her? And I couldn't believe it. My wife looked at me and she's like, well, she goes, are there any cute whiskey names? And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah. She goes, I don't know. Maybe. Maybe she felt bad because like we were literally at lunch, like for fun. And she was just like, she totally played me. It was like, let's go to the shelter and we'll just look. Like, right? We'll just look. I know. I learned this now. Because it was like first she's like, hey, we were getting like it was like Valentine's Day, and we had a really nice lunch. She goes, please, let's just go look. I want to see what's out there. We're not gonna get anything. And of course we run into this puppy, and it's like, good Lord. Yeah, so she asked me, she's like, any fun? And I'm like, we're not gonna name the dog Jim Beam. Or Wild Turkey, or it is something like that. So, and then I just started going through and Willet. She's like, well, it's cute. I'm like, oh, okay. And now we call her Willie for short. And so everybody,
cute. I like that.
It is. She's very cute, and it's. But of course, everybody now thinks she's a boy because her name's Willie. But it's all right. Whatever. Did they get along when they were first introduced? The two dogs.
Yeah, so they've known each other since they're babies, you know. So really, they are brother and sister, and they are siblings. Like before we started recording, I was like, "This is what it must feel like to have twins." Like they really are two peas in a pod. They have to do everything together, but they've known each other since day one. So yeah, they've always gotten along.
And Fitz has very much a Napoleon complex. And because he's a little Chiweenie, and then Honey's like just the softie. So like anytime we go to the dog park or we'll go to the lake in Lake Baldwin, like he'll take over and try to bark everybody off. Even though he'll back off, he'll still go at people, but then like kind of come to us.
Yeah, he's very protective. We're like, don't F with my sister.
Oh yeah,
it's great. It's good to see. So like, and it's just funny. They're very entertaining, especially like. Now she's actually sleeping more with us, which is kind of weird. I don't know where she went. She's probably back door again.
I was gonna say, dogs are allowed in the bed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He is like like I said, a baby. And he sleeps up between us, in between our heads, on the pillow, under the blanket. Like, he is a prima donna. And she just is like, if I could have a little room, please. I'd like to maybe sleep with mom and dad if that's okay with you tonight.
She has her own room here too in the house, which I called when we moved in the house when it was being built. I was like, that's Honey's room. And she's like, why? I was like, because the windows are there. It sees right out front. Like, it's just going to be her room. And
Yeah,
that's where she goes.
sleeps
That's
most
where
of
she
the
goes
time.
to sleep, and she does her own thing.
Hey, fair enough. So, cat people at all? Or no? Is that just a no?
I'm very allergic to cats.
Okay.
I wish that I wasn't, because I do like cats. Like, I love when I go to Chelsea's and she's got the 3 cats, and Waffles is like a cat dog. He loves to like be cuddled and be in what everyone's doing and in your business. At least with me. So I love when they come down and I get to play with them, but I like have to wash my hands immediately, shower when I get home, pop a Benadryl because my eyes get really swollen and itchy. So yeah, no cats in the future for us, but we're on the hunt possibly for a 3rd dog.
We did have almost a run-in with a cat though that we thought was a stray.
Oh yeah, we almost adopted a stray. It kind of chose us. I feel like it wanted us. It really did. But it did have a microchip when we brought it to the vet. So its parents got called and it went home. But I feel like if it didn't have a microchip, it was going to be our cat.
Wow. Hey, now there's also, which my wife keeps trying to get me to get, and they just weird me out, but Sphinx cats. The hairless.
Yes. Okay.
They're hypoallergenic, and supposedly they have like super sweet demeanor. They're very, very friendly.
Oh, that's it. I don't know.
You just have to rub lotion on them, like.
Leave that up to
I like that.
I think you have to moisturize them like once a week or something like that. Literally, like.
Maybe we'll just get a 3rd dog.
I think a 3rd dog is.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, we're waiting on we constantly look. She almost brought one home from the animal shelter in Nashville.
Oh, that's right. You did that PR trip through Nashville and got to go. I was so jealous when I saw you got to do the shelter and everything like that. Oh my God. When
Ross was like, maybe would you like to do? I was like, would I like to? I was born to do that. Like, that is. I don't want to wrestle anymore. I just want to visit the animal shelters where we go. And yeah, I almost brought a little pit mix. His name was Carter home.
I was ready I was just like, yeah, if you want to bring him home, bring him home.
But I also thought, especially this month, like, we're so busy and we've been so fortunate, like the last couple months, to have our parents come and like vacation down here when we're at TV. So we haven't had to put them in the little puppy hotel. So like, it just wasn't a good time. We were leaving for like 2 weeks at a time. His parents were going to be here. I just didn't think it was good to like introduce a brand new baby into our life at the most chaotic point. But Carter did get adopted like 3 days later. So he's with a good home anyway.
Fantastic. That's awesome. I'm sure there will be more in the future, just like there will be more in mine. I have no doubt whether I like it or not. So
are you not an animal person?
Oh, no. I am. It was just like, so I love animals. So when this all first happened, so when we first moved back to Chicago, we lived in the suburbs. We got a house in the suburbs. And so we had 3 cats because I had 1 cat when we met. Then she adopted 2. So when we moved in together, we had 3, and that was in Florida. So then we all came up to Chicago and we had a house. So now we had like an extra bedroom and all that. We had like this extra space and all this stuff. So I don't know how she got me, but like, she's like, let's get another cat. I'm like, 4 cats? You want 4 cats? I'm like, that's all. Even for a house, it's a lot of cats. And then of course we went and looked at a local shelter and we found this very cute dipstick of a cat that was all black except for the teeny tip of his tail, like a magic wand. His name was Abracadabra. And so we brought him out. So then we had 4. And then the infamous Valentine's Day lunch happened. And we went and we got the dog. We're like, well, we have a backyard and everything now. So we're like, okay. So now we had 4 cats and a dog in our house. But then we decided to move into the city because it was better for both transportation and like my wife Shaw was doing a bunch of like gigs and working in the city. So like the commute was way better. And I love the city. but now we're going from a 4-bedroom house to a 2-bedroom condo.
Yeah.
And with 5 animals and 2 humans. So we have 7, mammals living in a 2-bedroom apartment. And this bedroom is barely a bedroom. It's like a 5 foot by 5 foot office. So like, it's just, I know almost during the pandemic, we almost got another dog.
Oh, God.
Which would have been 6 animals in a 2-bedroom apartment. Just because they're like, what, but the friend for the dog? I'm like, I know. In theory, I want it too, but God bless it. It's not going to fit.
I will say it is beneficial with 2 dogs.
Yeah, I think so. They're never without, like, you can leave for, the 6 hours and be like, well, they'll just play, or they're never alone, they're never bored. But yeah, 2 is hard. And in some ways it's easier because like potty training is easier and sleep training is easier and things like that. But like, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
That's why when we do get the 3rd eventually down the road, I'm like, ooh, do we do even crate training at all? Or how does that work?
Oh yeah. We gave up on that after like a month. We had that. We knew what we were getting into, but we didn't. Whining all night, all this stuff. We got to the point where like, we're going to take her back. Like, we can't sleep. We can't function. I was going on the road and I'm like, this is bad. She's sweet, but like, holy crap. And so we what settled it. She was probably 4 months old, and we just, you know what, screw it. Put her in the bed, and she slept between us, and she never made a peep again. Of course, now I can't get her out of the bed.
Right.
But like, we total crate training failures, but she's never made a mess in the house. God bless her. And it's been good so far.
I need to knock on wood for that one.
No kidding. No kidding.
Maybe not even a night.
Oh crate. Gosh. Yeah. It's local crate still.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't ever go near his crate.
Because it's in the office now, so it's not out. But when we were still in the apartment, that crate was in the living room, and it was a safe place. It's only been since April that he's kind of like, don't need my crate. But I think if we had it out, he would still use it.
On that note, let's cheers to the animals. Let's move on to our last sample. One final pour. Hopefully something very different. For one last
your description on this one.
What's that?
We're going off your description on this one.
Yes, very different.
This smells appley.
Appley, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it. Okay. I smell kind of appley.
Okay.
I knew that was a thing though, to smell with your mouth open.
It keeps the olfactory senses open, and it gets you a little bit less punchy with alcohol and less burn on the nose because you're cycling the air as opposed to just right up into your brain.
Learn something new today.
Mm-hmm. And don't swish. I do it sometimes out of habit, but that kicks up all the alcohol. If you do it, give it a second to breathe because it kicks up all the alcohol, and then go back in.
All right, I can smell the apple.
Do you smell the apple? I smell apple.
Okay, so a little fruity. This one's a little fruitier.
I think so.
Okay. Lighter, does it seem like it's punchier with alcohol, or is it lighter?
I can barely smell alcohol. I feel like it's lighter.
Yeah.
All right. Give it a sip. See how it tastes.
Okay, I'm going to get my chaser. All right.
Always ready.
Oh, I take it back. Woo! Woo!
I got it more in the nose on the sip and the flavor of it. Like,
really? Okay.
Nostrils on the feel. I don't know if
that's so did any of that fruity apple flavor carry over for you, Deonna?
No.
Okay. Just taste whiskey.
That was just like, so when I smelled it, I couldn't really smell the alcohol, but that was like all I could taste.
Okay. What about you, Steve? Anything different? Again, just different from the other ones?
Like I said, like the only thing I got more out of it was I came towards more like the head on the actual swig of it, or the taste of it for the burn of it. I didn't really get anything down the throat. Still smooth, nothing bad.
Okay.
So do you mean it burnt your nose?
Yeah, I got it more.
Oh,
in the nose.
okay. I
Yeah.
didn't know what you were trying to describe.
I don't know. It's more in the tee box area.
Okay.
Instead of the
T-zone.
There you go. The T-zone.
T-zone.
Tee
box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, if you had to choose,
it smells sweeter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rate them from best to least favorite. How would you go?
B.
Go ahead. You go first.
Yep.
AC.
BAC. Okay. Steve?
I'm gonna agree. BAC.
Really? Same
Yes.
thing. Okay. Same page.
Yeah. B gave me that more, like I said, that Christmas. I don't know, that taste of like if it's cold. If it's cold outside, that's something I know I want to drink.
Yeah.
And just kind of enjoy a drink outside, like just to warm me up, and then after dinner drink.
I like to be.
All right. So BAC for both of you. So what I will do then, I'm trying to think how I want to reveal these. Do I want to go just ABC or do I want to go in reverse order of your choices? Let's go. We'll go in the reverse order of your choices. So you guys at BAC. So we'll go CAB. So your least favorite. So I always try to do a little bit of a theme, right? I always try to do it as best I can. It doesn't always work out. But this one, I'm going to start it from the bottom. Now we're here, right? So, like a lot of us in wrestling, it's a grind out, to get to, the positions we're in today and so on and so forth. So starting with A to B to C, we have varying kind of classes and price points of whiskey and everything.
That's where we're going here.
Yeah. So we'll start with your least favorite, which was C. And so, like I told you, I was working my way up. C was the most expensive whiskey.
Really?
That I sent you. Yes.
Oh, wow.
So that's the one. I don't have it. My dad is finished off the bottle. I gave it to him because it's very nice. And this one, I think you guys are the first ones that I have sent a Scotch. So C was a Scotch.
Oh.
I wish I had a picture. But it was a Glendronach 18-year Scotch.
Oh.
So Scotch is a little bit different. It's 100% malted barley is the base. It's a single malt Scotch. That particular brand is aged, I think, entirely in sherry barrels, PX sherry barrels, which are a type of sherry is a type of sweet wine. Usually PX is from Spain. And a lot of scotches and different companies like to use those barrels to age their scotch in because it adds such a really nice flavor. Some people use port, some people use sherry, some people use Pinot, things like that. But sherry is very popular for scotch. And so that's an 18-year-old Scotch, the oldest whiskey I sent you. It's probably anywhere from $150 to $200 a bottle.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
That is, but it is a unique flavor profile compared to things. Again, if you're used to drinking like a Jack Daniels, which is very much an American whiskey, it's a Tennessee whiskey. Essentially, it's a bourbon. Is a little bit different flavor profile, so it might be a little off-putting. The barley can be a little earthy and stuff, even with the sherry finish in there. But speaking of American, we will go over to A, your second favorite, which was the one we started with, and that is good old plastic handle, a very old Barton. This is a bourbon. And it's not quite vintage bottle. This was gifted to me, but this bottle is probably from like 8 or 9 years ago. This is 100 proof bourbon.
Wow.
So this is it's bottled in bond. No, this isn't bottled in bond. Never mind. This is just a straight regular 100 proof bourbon, probably 4 or 5 years old. From a company called Barton, 1792 distillery. They've been around for a very long time. Pretty standard, like mid-lower shelf bourbon. You know what I mean? That's kind of the starter thing. You can find this or something very similar to this on the shelf for $15, $20, right? So that was just kind of that's a standard intro bourbon. And then the winner, B, which even though our letter C was a fancy 18-year-old Scotch, I do have to admit this was my favorite of the group too.
Oh, good. That makes me feel better.
Christmas.
Yes, and the other thing, the Christmas makes a lot of sense because I think these flavors actually really work well. To me, I get almost like some sweet cinnamony kind of clovey notes from this particular bottle, which I think work really well around the holidays as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Bardstown Bourbon Company, a company I've worked with a lot. This is their collaboration series. So this is bourbon, and I believe it is, what does it say? It is 12-year bourbon, but then it's finished, put in, same thing, sherry casks for a year and a half, resting in sherry. So that's why bourbon is already pretty dark. Like, this is a standard bourbon. It's already a pretty nice dark copper. And then you go and take it. Sherry is a very dark, what do you call it? It can be very dark wine. So that's why you almost can't see through it. You know what I mean? Like, it's really, really dark.
It's like a dark red.
Yes. So it takes the flavors of bourbon and everything like that and brings in like these kind of almondy, cloving notes of scotch and everything. This is a premium offering. This is probably about $120 a bottle. And from this company that does really, really great work. They do awesome stuff taking other people's bourbon. They buy stocks of other people's older bourbon, and then they do really unique finishes. They did like Armagnac finish. They've done a port finish. They've done brandy finishes. That's all this stuff. And then it changes the flavor of the regular whiskey, and it adds a new level of character. So your favorite was my favorite too.
Oh, that makes me feel good. Like, we are a little more sophisticated than Jack Daniel's drinkers.
But make no mistake, one thing I will say for those of us in the kind of like the whiskey nerddom community and everything, one thing I do appreciate is we all love the fancy bottles and everything. We do. Don't get me wrong. We all go wild for those. But what I love about it is there's also a huge feeling of like, hey, you drink what you like. And like, my favorite whiskey to go is Wild Turkey 101. Mm-hmm. That's my go-to, because I'm like, you know what? It's actually, you can shoot it, you can throw it in a giant batch cocktail, like it's cheap, so you could do all that with. But if I want to drink it neat, it's actually a really well-crafted whiskey. Even the cheap whiskeys can be really well-crafted. Jack Daniel's is actually a really good whiskey. They do some very interesting stuff that's not even just the regular Jack Daniel's. So they're expanding, and just drink what you like. That's all I mean at the end of the day.
I was on a long Jack Honey kick for a while. And
sure,
it's honey. We have the dog. But like Jack Honey, I don't know, it had that taste, and it was just one of those things where if it was kind of like a cold in the air and was just relaxing.
Yeah.
It's warm.
Just, I don't know. I think that's where I go to when I want a good drink out of whiskey is pretty much that warming, festive flavor. Mm-hmm. So.
Yes. B. I'll just hand you some more B.
But at least we know.
Yeah.
Damn right. You made a wise choice. But yeah, no, before we wrap up, we'll kind of do the usual. I just want to know like what some of the things you guys have got going on and or coming up. Before we come jump into anything major, I know Deonna, I did want to ask you, you've been talking a little bit about it lately. Like, you're doing school, right?
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that.
So I am about a year out from a history degree, which was not my first choice. But like, gosh, when I was 18, I started wrestling school and I started community college. And I was actually going for exercise science, exercise physiology. And I'm not good at math whatsoever. Like, ask me to add a fraction, I don't know. I can't do it. And I've never been able to. So with exercise science, there's a lot of chemistry that I just, no matter how much I studied, no matter how many tutoring sessions I went to, I could just not keep up. So I chose history when I went back last May, because it's something I love and it comes natural to me. I actually enjoy studying and sitting down and writing papers and things like that. So yeah, I got just about a year left to get my bachelor's.
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you guys keep out. She'll be continuing to do that. But yeah, what else have you guys got? Anything coming up? Anything going on in particular in your lives?
You got NWA in Power.
Yeah, we're at NWA this weekend, which Matt's not allowed at, but that's fine. It's fine. It'll be okay. And yeah, I don't really know. This month has been so busy that like I couldn't even tell you what day it is today. Because I feel like I've just been a little bit all over the place. But yeah, I feel like next weekend I'll be in Vermont and Jersey. And then we have Impact taping, so we'll all be together.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to Bound for Glory in Vegas, so that'll be fun.
Yes, very cool, multi-collaborative kind of pay-per-view going on with a lot of different promotions featured. That'll be very, very cool. Well, then, but then before we sign off, give everybody the usual podcast spiel, social handles, where they can find you, wherever you're doing. Hit them with it.
You want me to go first? I prefer ladies first.
Oh, okay. Well, everyone can follow me at Deonna Purrazzo on Twitter and on Instagram. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. Boom. So for me is at Steve Maclin, Instagram and Twitter as well, and then YouTube. Your YouTube page is still going, right?
I think it's Deonna Purrazzo. I have not put a video on YouTube in probably a year.
I think that's something we need to start doing, though. I want to say that's something we need to start
History
doing.
lessons with Deonna Purrazzo.
Yeah, I should.
Yeah.
You teach everyone about how Andrew Johnson failed Reconstruction.
Believe me, I get anytime she writes a paper, I have to listen to it. I don't mind it because it's like, how does that sound? I was like, it sounds like a textbook. So good.
Yeah. So good. Yeah.
Great.
It's also like when you're writing papers, you're supposed to write for an audience as if no one knows what you're talking about. And not that you don't maybe know what I'm talking about, but maybe you don't know all the details. So if you're like, oh, I kind of understand what you're saying, or I can get the gist and the point, then I've done a good job.
Yes.
So
damn right. Lessons from Professor Purrazzo. 100%. Maybe that's the next gimmick.
One day.
The
maybe
professor.
it'll be my real life.
Yeah, right? Well, guys, thank you so much for taking the time and joining me on the show today. Thank you for being the first couple guests on Straight Shooting here. No, I appreciate you. You guys are awesome. I can't wait to see you guys in a couple of weeks. And yeah, you guys, we'll see everyone else soon. I appreciate everyone being here.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers, everybody. We'll see you on the next one.